What's up, dudes? It's Gaz, and welcome to another Warframe video. I'm happy, I'm excited today, because you know what? Explosions! I love explosions! And we got a new Prime mod on PC only so far, called Prime Firestorm. And it gives you more range on your explosions. On most guns. Not all guns can equip it, for some reason. So we're going to go over a top 10 list, in my opinion, of the best weapons to use with this new Prime Firestorm mod. And hopefully you guys like it, because I'm planning to do a top 10 video for Primed Fulmination, the explosion range mod for pistols. That will probably come out tomorrow, so keep an eye out on that one. We're also going to make sure that we got a Twitch stream going on today at twitch.tv/Gaz_TTV. Also, if you like this video, like the video, hit that like button, sub to the channel if you're not already, and, keep it going, guys. So, alright, let's quickly go over what we'll be testing, how we'll be placing these weapons in this video today with Prime Firestorm. Now, keep in mind, we are using Mirage Prime for all of the gameplay footage today. That's because Mirage Prime's first ability, Hall of Mirrors, creates multiple copies of you that also shoot guns. We're also going to be using Energized Munitions, which is a helmet ability that gives you increased ammo efficiency, which basically means you won't always spend bullets when you fire your gun. I have a video on this build that I'll link in the description because it is what we're using all this stuff, and it is a good build. I do highly recommend it. Alright, so we're going to go over, it's going to be a top 10 list, but the first couple, I'm not really as into them as the higher tier stuff here. Additionally, guys, and we're using Prime Firestorm, we're also using Amalgam Furax Body Count, which is going to give you increased blast radius on specialized launchers as well. So this will also, this plus 20% blast increase will stack with Prime Firestorm for additional increased blast radius. You do not need to use the Furax Wraith. I built the Furax Wraith for this video, and you know what you could just do? Search Furax in your description, or for your melee weapons, and buy the Mark 1 Furax with credits. It will work if you want increased blast radius on your primary weapons. You do not need to build the Furax Wraith at all. But you do need to get this mod, which comes from the Ropolo list, if you want maximum radius. Alright, guys. So first weapon, the worst one on the list, is going to be the Synoid Simulor. This weapon comes from Cephalon Suda, I think they're called. And it is we have a video of it on the channel. I might link all these videos. Could we have videos on basically all these weapons because they're explosive weapons. I like explosions. Something like this is what I was running. Now here's the thing with Prime Firestorm. It is going to take a mod slot on your build. But the way I look at it is a full build in normal content is already massively overkill. Think about it like this. If we are actually, because here's the thing, you don't use guns on high level enemies most of the time. In normal content, a full build is going to be more than enough, especially if you're using Mirage Prime's abilities to buff your damage. So as we can see right there, we push the detonation button. Nearly all the enemies are hit by that explosion from the Synoid Simulor. And we will have gameplay footage on this video, but the first couple I'm not going to put gameplay footage for. So as you can see, relatively okay. These are level 50s, of course, and we are not using Mirage's buffs. So if we use Mirage's buffs here, we'll instantly combine those explosions, and they get annihilated. So really good stuff there for being number 10 on the list. Now the reason this one's number 10 on the list is because I find it kind of annoying to use it. In my full Synoid Simulor video, I go over why I think it's annoying, but it has guaranteed electric procs on it. You detonate the explosion, so it is relatively nice, but I just find this weapon kind of annoying to use, so that's why we are going to go with that one at number 10, the worst of the bunch. Alright, moving on to the first gameplay, and all this gameplay footage will be on Oxymoko in the Void with Mirage. Number 9 is the Stahlta. That is the weapon that comes from, whatever he's called, the Jackal. The Jackal Redux fight. We'll drop the blueprint, and I believe the parts for it come from the Granum Void. You have fun with that one. So yeah, the Stahlta has a relatively high explosion range on the secondary fire. Let's actually show how high that's going to be with the Prime Firestorm mod. I believe it's going to go up to 11. The range with this mod is actually going to increase the range to 11.95, so nearly 12 meters of range on the explosion. As you can see right here, it has very high damage. Now, keep in mind, this is with the Riven mod. I'm showing all these builds. If I have a Riven mod for the weapon, the Riven mod will be on the build, but that's why we're not really focusing on the build here. We're just focusing on the AOE potential on these weapons, and the Stahlta does not have a damage problem at all. So, yeah, this will be a good one right here. And I do consider this... Now, here's another. Like I said with the Synoid Simulor, this one has another problem. If you are not using energized munitions here, you can fire off 2 charge shots before having to be forced to reload. And if you try to use the primary, or rather the secondary shot on the Stahlta before you have enough ammo, it will force a reload as well. It's very annoying to use, but the damage is there. This also has a charge time. But then again, it does have a primary fire. It will chew through nullifier bubbles, which is one of the big problems with explosive weapons is nullifier bubbles, in my opinion. So yeah, let's move on. We're only on number 9, and we're about 5 minutes into the video, so that's why we got to speed it up a little bit. All right, now the next one will be one that actually is not going to have any gameplay either. It's going to be the number 8, the Muteless Cernos, and this one's actually a little bit weird because it doesn't even show the range on the anything getting increased by Prime Firestorm here, but I can just quickly show you the range on this Toxin Cloud does go up with Firestorm equipped. And that is going to make a Toxin Cloud in the area. So as we see, like right there with no Prime Firestorm equipped, it just hits that heavy gunner and does nothing. It hit the guy behind him, but that's because he got flinched back a little bit. If we do put Prime Firestorm on there, it will definitely increase in radius. I don't know exactly, not even the wiki doesn't even have, I'm not measuring this stuff, but let me tell you for a fact, it does increase the radius of that explosion, and it is relatively nice. This one potentially could be higher on the list if you're using it for like a condition overload, like chillin' situation. As you can see right now, now it's hitting her over there, and that is a decent increase in radius there. This is one that it definitely has potential. Like I said, now this is with an orange crit cat buff, so it does not normally do this, but there you go, guys. That is number 7, right? That is number 8, and you know, like I said, it potentially could be much higher given the right circumstances. All right, moving on to number 7 for real this time. We've got the Tombfinger primary kit gun, and I have my own thoughts about what DE did with the primary Tombfinger kit gun after release, after they waited until everyone put their forma on there, and then decided to change the stats around. I found that relatively annoying, but with the parts that we have currently, which is going to be Tremor, Tombfinger, and Splat, a max crit version with very high damage, it is also going to, it's a little bit slow at the charge rate, but it does get the job done and does cover a relatively large area with those explosion shots. And it has radiation damage innately. With the Prime Firestorm mod equipped, the explosion is actually going to be over a 10 meter range on it, so that's pretty good. And now something also that's nice about the Prime Firestorm mod on the Tombfinger is because it will increase the radius of the primary shots. There are some weapons, this is important if you're going to be thinking about using the Prime Firestorm mod on your primary. There are some weapons where the explosion bullets will not get increased in radius, but the Tombfinger is one of them. The Tombfinger primary shots will increase in radius while using Prime Firestorm. A weapon, like for example the Trumna, will not increase in radius with the Prime Firestorm mod, but the secondary fire for the Trumna will increase the radius. Let's just quickly show that right here. That's the secondary shot with the Trumna, and it's pretty good. I mean, you don't really even need it. I'd say the Trumna's not on this list for a reason. So, yeah, that is number 7 right there, the Tombfinger. Now moving on to number 6, we got the Kuva Chakkurr. A lot of the top weapons will be Kuva weapons. I'm sure you will notice that. Now, the nice thing about the Kuva Chakkurr is, like, it's not really going to stagger you. And I didn't really talk about staggers that much yet. But when we start getting to these higher ones, the entire video, I did not put Prime Sure-Footed on here. You will be getting staggered a lot with these high tier ones because of how big the area of effect on these shots are. The Kuva Chakkurr does not have huge radius on these shots, but it does a lot of damage. And now keep in mind, a funny thing about these weapons, the explosions go through walls. They are not line of sight based. I find that kind of ironic that briefly after the Korra line of sight nerf, don't call it a change, don't call it a balance, it's a nerf, when something is weaker afterwards, but we're not going to get into that. I find it hilarious, after they do that nerf to Korra, they add ridiculous AOE explosion range increases. I find that kind of funny. Now, to be fair, this is not really the same scaling as Korra's whip, but it's just, you know, the whole thing about it. So, yeah, you will not be getting staggered by this that much. And I did, in the later gameplay, I did put on no Prime Sure footage just to show how much you will be getting staggered with this. And when we go over the secondaries tomorrow, guys, there's so many staggers. But yeah, with the Kuva Chakkurr, about 4.8 range on the explosions on the shots, and it can clear through this exterminate mission very fast. So yeah, I do highly recommend this one. It doesn't really need every mod to be a damage mod in most cases, so a really, really good one right there. Now let's move on to the next one, and that is going to be number 5. Now, keep in mind, these are subject to change, these numbers of what rank they're at. But number 5 is going to be the Zarr. And the Zarr actually, I did not realize how small the radius on the Zarr explosion was until I put on primed Firestorm and saw how big the explosion becomes with the prime Firestorm. So the explosion range is going to become 9.1 once we put prime Firestorm on here. And this is where the staggers start coming to effect. The explosion on the initial Zarr shot can stagger you, and the little bomb blitz it creates afterwards also can stagger you. So we are getting into big AOE territory here finally. And yeah, it is blowing some stuff up. So keep in mind, I do have a Riven mod on the Zarr currently. But yeah, the entire room will basically get hit by damage, which is nice. And if you're using energized munitions, you will not have to reload as much. The Zarr is one of those weapons that reloads one cannonball at a time, so energized munitions really going to help you out here. I do recommend it on Mirage specifically, and other gun-based frames like Gauss, frames like maybe Chroma, Octavia, some other frames like that. You can definitely use energized munitions to great effect. Maybe even Wisp with energized munitions is pretty good too, because the increased fire rate. So yeah, Zarr, pretty good stuff. Doesn't really do anything on the shotgun mode, but you're using the cannonball mode for this one. So as you see, the entire room dies, and good stuff. All right, moving on to number 4. Now these are the top 4. I think that these ones are all interchangeable, honestly. But this was, to be honest, this one right here, I think this might be my favorite one currently, and it's the Acceltra. Number 4 is the Acceltra. This, I don't have a Riven mod for this. This annihilates. It doesn't even give you that big of a range increase, but when you're firing this many bullets, like full auto like the Acceltra is, first off, the range goes to 6.64 on the explosions of this thing, and it does enough damage that at this level it's fine. This thing is like a carpet bomber destroyer, and I highly recommend it. If you don't have the Acceltra, it does come from, I believe, Infested Disruption from the Infested Deimos. They'll drop the blueprint. And it is really, really nice. It's working great. This actually had one of the fastest mission clears out of all of these. I don't really think that means much, because, I mean, as you can see, it's only 120 enemies this time. So, yeah, Acceltra tears through them. Very easy to use. Not a huge area of effect, but this is all with no Riven mod. So if you had a Riven mod, you could get even more bang for your buck here. And, yeah, I think I had Hunter munitions. On a lot of these builds, guys, I took off Hunter munitions for that last mod slot for Prime Firestorm. So, all right. The top 3, the big explosions. The big explosions, guys. Are you ready? All right, well, number 3. Now, like I said, these top 3, you can change them to whoever you prefer the most. I'm going to go with number 3 being the Kuva Bramma. And dang, the Kuva Bramma gets a big explosion with this mod. Let me tell you. With the Kuva Bramma, using Prime Firestorm, we have a 13.78 range. Nearly 14. And you will be hitting your, as you can see, here's where the staggers begin, like truly. We are getting knocked over nearly every shot with no prime sure-footed. I really wish they'd remove them, but then again, if we had self-damage, you'd be killing yourself on nearly every shot. So, yeah, if you got prime sure-footed, if you got Gauss, if you got Revenant, if you got Nezha, Rhino, etc., something that will prevent knockdowns, there you go. And this will let you speed run lower level missions, or like mid-level. You could probably just run this in the Swordy and still one-shot everything, honestly. This will be great. That's what the real thing I think about Prime Firestorm here is, like, it helps you speed run lower level missions, especially with Mirage, relatively quickly. As you see right there, probably cleared out like 10 enemies in one shot there, as long as they're clumped together. Like, yeah, so there's a couple, like I said, there's a couple of problems. Like, I mean, the guns aren't really super useful at higher levels. And like in the Steel Path, the enemy like are scaled up, and there's like more of them spawning, so you'd think it'd be more useful there, but the enemies have more health, so a lot of times guns aren't as useful in the Steel Path. But, you know, still pretty good here. And there's the Nullifier giving us issues. That's why the Stahlta and the Acceltra are really good there, but it's neither here there nor there. So Energy Munition is going to give you more ammo for that Kuva Bramma as well with the ammo efficiency. All right, moving on to number 2. Number 2 and number 1 are both really, really good. And I think number 2 actually might be better than number 1 a little bit. And that is the Kuva Ogris. Oh man, this thing is good with this mod. Let me tell you. The explosions go through walls. The Nightwatch Napalm mod gives you a fire AoE wherever you just shot the Kuva Ogris. And it seems to actually work with Prime Firestorm. So this, I would say this is a staple mod on the Kuva Ogris going forward. And not even to mention, this thing has such high status chance, it is a potential Kuva, or not Kuva, a condition overload proccing weapon with now increased range. If you have Prime Sure-Footed on your build, you can use this as a condition overload procker, and it will also go through walls. So really, really, really good stuff here, guys. The only problem with the Kuva Ogris is it has no real crit, but it does deal very high damage per shot and has extremely high status chance. So yeah, slap on Nightwatch Napalm. I'll show the build really quickly what I'm using on the Kuva Ogris. But yeah, the AOE is also gigantic. It's very large AOE. We've got, this is probably the biggest, this is the biggest AOE of all of them. 14.68 when we have Amalgam Furax body count equipped. And, you know, like I said, there's 9% crit. If we had a crit rocket launcher, like for this thing, it would be nasty. So yeah, if you want to get Riven Mod, put multi-shot and damage on there. Some other things, like I only got, this one's not even rolled yet. But yeah, multi-shot damage going to be your best stats. Nightwatch Napalm, it makes it fire AoE on the ground, and then we have Prime. You don't even need, honestly, you can do this all without a full build at all. It's going to be great without a full build. 100% status with what we got in here, and it can get much higher than 100% status. So yeah, so you could think, you'd be like, all right, 14.68 explosion range. What's better than that? Huh? What's better than that? Well, let me tell you. It is maybe partially because of energized munitions, but the Kuva Tonkor gets a much needed explosion range buff here, and it will kill nearly the entire room. Me personally, this has the best of both worlds. It has the huge explosion radius, it has extremely high crit stats, and very high base damage. Now, the one thing it doesn't really have is ease of use. If you are not using energized munitions, you'll be reloading on every shot, but it has okay enough reload speed. I feel like it's fine. And there are some mods to increase reload speed, of course, on primaries. You might be thinking, if you're thinking that I'm forgetting something, guys, keep in mind, this only works on rifles. Okay? It does not work on shotguns. I wanted to try the Boo Boo Nico. I wanted to try the Phantasma. I want to try the Corinth and the Corinth Prime. You cannot equip them on those weapons, unfortunately. I find that very stupid. I think this should be just for primaries, but it apparently just says rifles. And as far as the Ignis Wraith and the Ignis working with this, people are saying it works, but I don't think it actually does. So, yeah, for the Kuva Bramma as well, like you can use the Probiscus or Probiscus Cernos and the Lens in that slot as well. They're both going to work fine. But I do find the Kuva Bramma to be the best of those. Another thing is that the tentacle range on the Probiscus Cernos does not increase with Prime Firestorm. It's just the explosion of the arrow afterwards. So, yeah, guys, hopefully you found this video helpful. I would say that, it's 13 meters on the explosion of the Kuva Tonkor, and it's 14.38 with Furax body count on there. Keep in mind, this does not work on everything, so some of these aren't really getting any effect from this, but for the purpose of the video, I want to show that. Yeah, I'd say that it's a mod worth getting, but it's 40,000 endo to max it out. So in that case, it's not worth it, especially if you're trying to speedrun missions. You can subsume on Thermal Sunder from Gauss. You can use Saren. You could use Equinox. Whatever. It is not... This will be... It's basically at me if you don't want to use those abilities, you want to use guns to blow everything up in low-level missions, this will be your best bet. Kuva Ogris, Tonkor, Bramma, etc., etc. Acceltra, great too. So it's more of a for-fun thing, and I love explosions, so I'm very into it. And that's going to be it for the video, guys. Hopefully you found it fun and helpful. It was a little bit longer today, but, you know, I was inspired to make this. This is one of the... Honestly, I've been inspired to make this video today, and I find that very good. You know, we don't usually get super fun stuff recently in Warframe. It's been like, you know, some interesting-ish stuff. This mod I found very fun. I know not a lot of people feel that way, but I personally do. So if you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button. Thank you for getting this far. I will see you guys going forward with lots of content on the channel. Gonna have a stream schedule going here pretty soon, and I really appreciate all the support, guys. Peace.